Good afternoon. I'm Vicky McCullum with the Thursday edition of the Our City COVID-19 News Show. We will be updating you on the latest information and resources around the COVID-19 pandemic while unpacking deeper issues as they emerge. Shacks were torn down by the city of Cape Town yesterday in a new land grab next to Impolweni informal settlement in Khayelitsha. Despite last week's court order, new shacks are being erected next to Impolweni, resulting in the city demolishing them once more. We'll have more on the story later on the show. We encourage our viewers to get in touch with us. We want to hear from you as we welcome contributions from movements, healthcare providers and our audience. We want this program to be a two-way flow of information, so please get in touch with us via our social media platforms and our email. Moving to the news. It is day 28 of the national lockdown and the current number of confirmed COVID-19 cases stands at 3,635 with 1,055 recoveries and 65 deaths. Zimbabwe's consulate in Cape Town is compiling a list of citizens who want to be repatriated to their home country. Many Zimbabwean nationals told Ground Up News that they were struggling to make ends meet due to the lockdown. In a statement earlier this month, the Zimbabwe embassy in Pretoria said the South African government allowed for voluntary, orderly repatriation of foreign nationals to their countries of origin during the lockdown period. Zimbabweans were warned they would be subject to 3-week quarantine should they choose to relocate. A delivery truck was overturned after it was stoned on the highway near Balha yesterday, resulting in the death of a 29-year-old woman. She was knocked down by the truck and later died in Tygerberg Hospital as a result of her critical injuries. Police spokesperson Sergeant Noloyiso Hwekana said a culpable homicide case was being investigated, but no arrests have yet been made. MACO member for Safety and Security, J.P. Smith, has condemned the looting.
The City of Cape Town condemns the upsurge in looting incidents amidst the lockdown. While we understand that the food security has become a very real concern for many residents, particularly following the lockdown extension, the scenes that have played out in recent weeks and with the increased regularity this week simply can't be tolerated. A group of people stormed into a local retailer's in Elsies River and made off with foodstuffs. Then at Stock Road along the R300, a group from Heinz Park tried to force a truck off the road with the intent to loot the contents. They were thwarted but then tried to invade a nearby shopping complex and were stopped by enforcement agencies. So they resorted to stoning passing cars, resulting in clashes with the police and the city's enforcement services. It's my understanding that at least 3 arrests were made, but SAPS would be best placed to give a confirmed tally. Already the city has been requested to assist with escorts of food trucks around the city in conjunction with the other enforcement agencies to mitigate the risk of looting. We're still trying to ascertain the logistical implications of this request, particularly as we're likely to see an increase in the distribution of food aid through the social relief measures announced by the President in his latest address to the nation last night. We simply can't have a situation where aid meant for the vulnerable in our society is hijacked in this manner. The city understands the real need that exists in many of our communities at this time, but resorting to crime and violence is not the solution. Such criminal acts tarnish the dignity and the decency of the vast majority of good residents in neighborhoods where this is happening. Some of those residents are alerting the police to warn against such looting and are doing the best they can to manage their own needs in this time of crisis. As such, we're acutely aware that criminal elements instigated the violent and attempted looting this morning on the R300. I'm proud of the persons in the community who took a stand for decency and law and order.
4 Metro police officers have contracted COVID-19. They are among the 1,068 confirmed cases of the coronavirus in the Western Cape, of which 856 are in the Cape Town metro area. 3 of the officers were from the Transport Management Centre in Goodwood and the 4th from its facility in Khayelitsha. The City of Cape Town's Priya Reddy said both facilities had been evacuated, deep cleansed and sanitized as per health and safety protocols. 2 Golden Arrow staff members have tested positive for the coronavirus, but neither were bus drivers. In a statement, the bus services spokesperson, Bronwyn Dyke-Beer, refused to disclose which department the employees worked in, but said it had been sanitized and temporarily closed. She said Golden Arrow was proactive in taking precautionary measures before the lockdown and believed these measures, if combined with consistent social distancing, provided a high level of protection to staff. Additional testing is underway. Shack dwellers had their homes demolished by in Impolweni, Khayelitsha yesterday, despite having permission from the Western Cape High Court allowing them to erect their structures on the land. On the 17th of April, the court ruled the city may not tear down shacks erected after lockdown in Impolweni, or at least not until a court hearing takes place after the lockdown is lifted. Many have been sleeping outside since their homes were demolished and have complained about being assaulted by law enforcement officers.
We're here in Empolweni in Khayelitsha, where shacks are being demolished by the law enforcement. This follows after a court order was given by the Western Cape High Court stating that a number of 40 shacks is allowed to be erected on this land. As you can see right over here, we have a group of law enforcement that is trying to maintain law and order, and we spoke to one resident who was saying that he does not know where he's going to sleep tonight and that he was not informed that his shack will be demolished today. As you can see right over there, we also have residents that are standing and looking, trying to see what is taking place and where they're going to sleep tonight.
From la because being a male rent to patali rent. Nancy problem about this for this begin. Relevant salam and pume painting. Can't cut no Humame Kaibio Tenga years ale answers. Because I'm quasi straight in the upper Kuklenda, upper Kuf and quasi Koshel.
Bulelani Kolani says that his landlord has kicked him out of the flat that he was renting. That is why he has came here.
And 4 weeks so kudala sibeka kule ndawo sichitha ngolo enforcement kaba no minister olindiwe Sisulu ebesesuka apha now ke ngoku wasithembisa into yoba uzawuzama izindlu athenge ibhangari ezintsha phezu kwezi besichithelwe ngolo enforcement. Now ke ngoku sisalindile singabahlali saqonda into yoba kunoba silinda ngoba siyaqhatshazwa zimvula nemimoya, but according ingqele nemimoya alukho ucwangco. Ngoku namhlanje siyazibhildela uCity of Cape Town uthe umuntu makazimisele indlu yakhe then abe nezinto ngaphakathi. Zonke ezo zinto ngoku zikhona ngaphakathi sizimisile ngosesimisile ezo zinto uCity of Cape Town uyasichitha, so asiyazi ke ngokuba sizabheka kweliphi icala.
This shack dweller says that all of her documents and furniture has been destroyed due to the demolition that has occurred. She says that she feels disheartened that her shack has been demolished and she has nowhere to live.
And then ke rent afford because bengaphangeli, so imali ya rent kwayona bendinikwa ngumama ezilalini. So that decide uba kunoba ndibendihlupha umama epay usase ezisokolela naye ezilalini kuba ndibonile umhlaba uapprove mama ulindiwe Sisulu. That decide uba nama ndizobeka apha to uphungula umthwalo ekhaya ezillalini.
Bulelani Kolani says that his landlord has kicked him out of the home that he was renting. That's why he has come here to erect his shack. He says that the Minister of Human Settlements, Lindiwe Sisulu, visited the area and informed them that they will have to be provided with new building materials so that they can rebuild their shacks after they were demolished by the law enforcement. He also states that the City of Cape Town had instructed them to have their belongings inside their homes, but now it has been demolished. He also mentions that he does not know where he's going to live during this lockdown period.
Sabeka ke ngokuthina ke singabanye nabanye abahlali babeka olwana namhlanje ke ngoba theke befika abanotice no notice bave basidubula qha abasho ukuthi ba masimuve sisiye ndawoni kanye sithini
ayandijika right ndiyaguquka ndiyangemva ndithi utheni ningiguqula ninisijika kuba andikhona kule nto ngaba ndingapha ndiyazihambela kuthi wajika right ndiyajika unoba baqale apha mna ndilapha uguquka kwam bayandidubula ndiyabuwa nindidubulela ntoni jongani andiyani njengoba kwenzeke ntoni jongana umqolo wami yabo uphinde ukhangela apha yabo uphinde ukhangela apha ikhona ekhoyo apha ikhona ekhoyo apha futhi 5.
The shack dwellers say that they are feeling very disheartened that their homes have been demolished by law enforcement. They say that they do not know where they're going to live during this lockdown period, and they are urging with the City of Cape Town and Ward Councillor to hear their pleas by allowing them to vacate this unoccupied land. They're also claiming that law enforcement officers are assaulting them. For our City News, I'm Zanele Mvana, Empolweni, Kailicha.
Now it's time for an ad break. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back. You're still watching the Our City COVID-19 show with me, Vicky McCullum. We will be giving you the latest updates on the COVID-19 pandemic and sharing essential resources and information with you. The World Health Organization has applauded South Africa's efforts to curb the number of coronavirus infections in the country. Speaking at a daily briefing in Geneva, Switzerland, the head of the WHO's Health Emergencies Program, Michael Ryan, says government's implementation of an early lockdown had contributed to slowing down the spread of the virus.
We really welcome all of the innovation we've seen around the world in both repurposing older drugs or drugs that are used for other indications and putting them into trials to see what impact they will have on COVID-19. We are also very grateful for all the investment and work going on for developing new molecules that may prove ultimately to be effective in the treatment. And we maintain a global database of all of those drugs and all of those trials. And we're encouraging all innovators to work through their national regulatory authorities, their national institutes of health, to ensure that any trials that are commenced with proper support and proper authority, proper ethical approval. And Africa has a strong track record in doing such work, and I'd like to congratulate the institutions in DR Congo especially, and Jean-Jacques Boyembe and his staff, because we have a monoclonal treatment which is highly successful for Ebola now, and that was developed in Congo with collaboration with NIH in the United States, but has been one of the first proven therapeutics against Ebola, a life-saving intervention developed in DR Congo and has been used successfully to treat in the last outbreak. Again, there is a tremendous amount of innovation going on in Africa in general. Maria mentioned South Africa, and again, it is interesting the way in which South Africa is bringing the disease under control, and how African countries are actually in some ways showing the way. The strategy in South Africa was based on preparation, primary prevention, lockdown and enhanced surveillance. 67 mobile lab units around the country, 28,000 community health workers trained in case detection, and I think over 120,000 tests completed with a 2.7% positivity rate, which is incredible, that much testing for that return. So we're seeing performance levels there again, congratulating the government and institutions of DR Congo for the superb way in which Ebola has been brought under control. We still have some way to go. So I think in general, we need to leverage the capacities that exist in Africa, the innovation, the science. We need to connect those scientists, we need to connect those laboratories, those clinicians across Africa. Again, the Director General, working with our Regional Director, Chidi Moeti, and the African Union, have been heavily engaged in trying to drive innovation, both in the public and the private sector across Africa. And it will be very important that studies in Africa are led by principal investigators from African institutions, and obviously reaching out to collaborators in other parts of the world. And I trust that those capacities exist. And again, to point to the rapid evolution of capacity. At the beginning of this epidemic, and I will point to the fact that WHO began distributing validated testing kits in Africa on the 24th of January, which was 7 days, 8 days a week before the declaration of the global public health emergency. But it was the laboratories at Institut Pasteur in Senegal and NICD in South Africa that trained all of the laboratory technicians from all over Africa, who then met up with their new reagents when they returned home. We're also seeing the use of high-throughput diagnostic systems in places like Kenya, where superb technology that's been provided by the Global Fund and others has been repurposed to use for high-throughput diagnostics in many African countries. We're working very closely with the Global Fund, with UNICEF, with UNITAID, to accelerate the availability of reagents for those high-throughput systems. So I think we're seeing very, very good things happen, but we're very cognizant of the challenges. We've seen almost 250% increase in cases in Sudan in the last week, in Somalia nearly 300%, and in many other countries like Tanzania, Mali, Congo, Gabon, Equatorial Guinea, Capo Verde and Eritrea, increases of more than 100% in the last week. With many other countries in Africa, case increases somewhere between 30 and 90%. So we are at the beginning in Africa. I believe that with a focus on preparation, on surveillance, on community mobilization, and on the undoubted capacity for innovation and science in Africa, that we can avoid the worst of this pandemic. But we are also cognizant, as the DG said, that there are lives and there are livelihoods, and the impacts of long-term lockdowns are having a severe impact. So we have to find a way forward in Africa that can balance the risk of the virus against the risk to people's livelihoods and people's lives at the same time.
Even South Africa's gang leaders across 9 provinces have adhered to national lockdown regulations, joining other citizens to obey national disaster guidelines. The move has been met with skepticism, with many people questioning the gang's motives. Reformed gangster and retired general of the 28th gang, Welcome Witbooi, explained.
Good morning and welcome to the COVID-19 show. Today I'm joined by reformed gangster and retired general of the 28th gang, Welcome Witbooi, who will be talking to me about the national ceasefire that sees gangsters across the spectrum halt activities for the duration of lockdown. Welcome, hi, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning and thank you for having me.
So welcome, as we start off our discussion, let's talk about the national ceasefire and what it is and what it means in terms of community and because a lot of people will argue that what the motive is behind the ceasefire.
Okay, so the ceasefire was generally instituted, I think it was a few days after the president had announced lockdown. And the purpose for the ceasefire was to see how all gangs would come together and how they could work with the community in rebuilding and mending relationships. Hence, it was then decided to get everybody around the table and talk about the possibility of ceasing all activities so that can happen.
When it comes to backlash, what type of backlash have you gotten, and what would you say people are saying in terms of the whole ceasefire?
I think there's a lot of skepticism, like people asking why haven't we've done this before? Why haven't these men and women agreed to a ceasefire way in advance of the lockdown? And at the same time, people are also skeptical to say that will the ceasefire last beyond the lockdown?
Yeah.
And I know that there's that kind of question, but what I'm saying is that we've done this, we've taken this step, we've moved closer to our original goal, and all we can do right now is just continue doing the work in the background and hope that we actually get the ceasefire to go beyond the lockdown. But it takes a lot of work, it's a lot of commitment. Various community members must work, families must do the work, government must do their part. Everybody must play a role in order to make sure that this lasts more than just the lockdown.
Has there been adherence across the spectrum from all parties involved?
Yes, definitely. I mean, we've been working hand in hand with all communities. As I said, there's 9 provinces in South Africa, and we have been checking in and seeing that most of the areas that you see the gang violence will drive has decreased incredibly. So we'll get areas like Menenberg, we get areas like Lala Park, we get areas like Mitchell's Plain, and in Johannesburg, Westbury, and various areas around South Africa. So there's been an incredible decrease in gang violence, as well as the sale of drugs in these communities. So adherence has been met, and it's continuing being met. And like I said, there are some flare-ups that occur from time to time where communities clash with police. Those are flare-ups caused by food parcels not being handed out. There's little things happening in the background, which is the responsibility and role of the South African National Police. But with regards to the gang itself, there's been an incredible adherence to making sure that they work with the communities, that they take part in the community initiatives. As you can also see, some of the gang leaders have been starting to help with food parcels, to re-establish communication. So adherence is being adhered to.
Yeah. Last question before I let you go. Welcome. What positive spin can we put on the ceasefire to ensure the community that there is no ulterior motive as to what's going on with this national ceasefire?
I think that many people will always see it, or some people will see it as I said, being skeptical about it. But the positive thing about this is, number one, is to tell the youth and to engage the youth on a much deeper level. It is also an opportunity for us to get parents to actually bring back the love into family homes, is to be involved in the lives of their kids, to be encouraged by saying that I've got my boy, I've got my girl at home. How can I, as a mother, as a father, make a difference and a change in my child's life? It is also an opportunity where we see communities being able to help each other build and grow, to pass the hurt. And I know that gangs have caused incredible hurt in communities, but this is an opportunity where they can both look each other in the eye and say, how do we work together through this COVID-19 pandemic and help each other as a community to grow? For me, at the end of the day, and us doing this, it's just to make sure that we see this as a positive spin in all aspects, and to hold on to faith and believe that this peace will usher in a new understanding, will usher in a new development moving forward.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Welcome. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for tuning in, viewers. As you heard, the ceasefire aims to be a positive commitment between gangsters and communities to ensure that lockdown is adhered to. Thank you for tuning in.
We contacted NICRO, an organization specializing in special crime prevention and offender reintegration, to get their take on the national ceasefire. This is what Advocacy Manager Jacqueline Horn had to say.
Today I'm joined by Advocacy Manager for NICRO, Jacqueline Horn, that will be giving me their view on the national truth when it comes to gangsters across the spectrum. Welcome, Jacqueline, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Stephanie and Cape Town TV for inviting us.
So in the first question, Jacqueline, I want to ask you is, what is NICRO's stance on the current national ceasefire?
Well, NICRO knows that it has been confirmed that a network of gang leaders across the country's 9 provinces, known as the Council, have made funds available for families, during this lockdown period until June, and also they have decided to call this national gangs to ceasefire. And I've quoted, Mr. Witboy, who is known to be, one of the ex-gang members and also a very close friend of Nikro, that has been doing negotiations with gang leaders, and especially for the Western Cape. Nikro, we obviously welcome the truce. It will definitely be beneficial to the communities because, as you know, that there are very poor communities and resources are limited and it's also restricted. So these communities are then, they are given an opportunity to basically survive this lockdown period. So we welcome the truce.
Do you see the truce being adhered to with gangsters across the spectrum actually adhering to regulations and keeping them off the street?
Well, the lockdown most definitely, it curbed movement, and crime stats from our minister report has shown that it has decreased. Um, but it's a bittersweet because we cannot. There's still some waters running during this time. There's still killings and murders happening on the Cape Flats. So yes, the movement has been curbed, but still, if you look at the communities, the townships, the high condensed communities, social distancing is not really practiced, and that is a challenge. We've seen in the past weeks that gangsters have turned the leaf of handing out food parcels. Thus, we can say that distributing these food parcels is one of the essential services needed in the community. So it's a quite clever move, to kind of do something good for the communities that is in need of our.
When speaking to Welcome Witboy, he did mention that there has been some backlash when it comes to the motive behind the actual national ceasefire. Do you think that there is a motive behind it?
Well, Tiffany, one can never truly know what the next person or party's intentions are. Bearing in mind that gangs are very influential and control many things in the communities. Gangs are often feared and communities often welcome any form of help, in order to survive. Gangs working together, using their networks to do good. Let us hope that this is not an opportunity where the gangs are leaving communities indebted to them.
And from Nikro's standpoint, what is your main concern when it comes to what happens after lockdown? Is there a fear that things will rapidly go back to the way it was? Or what are your main concerns concerning what happens after lockdown?
For Nikro, one of or few of the main concerns would be that, the question, will communities be indebted to gangs? And in which form will repayments be? Will they, will it be through new recruitments into gangs? Remember, not so long ago, there was a young man. He was killed because he did not want to be part or be recruited for gangs. So will that, be one of the conditions of the gangs? And also, will communities be expected to turn a blind eye to, killings, murders, drug dealings, or any other form of violence that is, going to be conducted by gangs? Let us hope that really, if these gang leaders, the council, if they are serious about wanting to help our communities and our people, I think they have to work together with our government in not just giving a quick fix during this lockdown period, but looking at more long-term interventions to help keep our community safe from harm and violence and crime.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Thank you for joining us, and thank you so much for your time. There you have it, viewers. NICRO has welcomed the national ceasefire that is ongoing between gang leaders across the spectrum. Thank you for tuning in.
It's time for a quick ad break. When we come back, Octavia and Lovu will take a look at the latest fake news and social media trends.
Welcome back. Before the ad break, we had Vicky McCullen with the latest news. The following PSA comes to us from the World Health Organization. The Global Health Body's Director General, Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, said that when they receive information, it is in numbers. This many people died or that many people have been infected, but that don't see the figures. They see the individuals behind the numbers.
When we get information in WHO, we get information in numbers. This many people died or this many people have been infected. We don't see the figures. We don't see the numbers. We see the individuals behind the numbers. You know where I come from. I know war. I know poverty. I know disease. I know how people suffer in war conditions. That's why I see people. I see faces. I see the mother or father of somebody. I see the daughters and sons of somebody. I'm telling you from a first-hand experience. I know how losing a brother means from childhood. That's why I'm being emotional. I know the tragedy that comes from disease, from pandemics, from war, from hate. You call it from poverty. And I resist to keep quiet. We need national unity. Strong national unity. Everybody fighting this virus, taking care of their citizens, taking care of real people. We need global solidarity that's cemented on genuine national unity. Without the two, without national unity and global solidarity, trust us, the worst is yet ahead of us.
Geoparks & Sons timber merchants recently spotted a leopard lion and her two cubs making a leisurely walk. In the short clip shared on WhatsApp and Facebook, the mother leopard can be seen walking down a pathway followed by her cubs. NGO Sonke Gender Justice has called a letter with Sonke's logo circulating within correctional centres, in particular Westville Prison in Durban, fake news. The letter in question calls on incarcerated persons testing positive for COVID-19 to inform their next of kin to assist in taking civil action against the Department of Correctional Service. The letter also speaks to parole decisions being made by National Council for Correctional Services. The NGO said the letter was framed in unacceptable terms. In a statement, the organization said it did not condone the content contained in the letter. Sonke added that it did not know the identity of the author, Advocate Nantombi S. Ndombela. And now for social media. Share your thoughts with us on Facebook, we are Our City CT, and on Twitter at Our City CT. This is a time that we need to come together as a nation. These are the popular hashtags on Twitter today. Hashtag World Book Day. With billions of people living in lockdown, reading certainly provides comfort, escape, and inspiration. This World Book Day should celebrate transformational power of reading. The reader of the United Nations said, Many Muslims across the world will mark Ramadan in lockdown this year. The annual holy month, which sees Muslims fast during daylight hours, kicks off today. After the ad break, we'll be crossing over to Vicky McCullum, who will share information on resources and places of safety that you can use during this period. Stay with us.
Welcome back. You're still tuned to Our City, the COVID show, with me, Vicky McCullum. Before the ad break, Octavia and Glovo looked at what has the nation buzzing on social media platforms. For your latest news around the COVID-19 pandemic and to see what other Cape Townians are doing to keep safe, tune in to Cape Town TV Daily. Speaking about what Cape Townians are doing, here are some organizations helping communities stay safe. Tears Animal Rescue is stepping up during lockdown by doing donation drives and distributing pet foods to owners living in vulnerable communities who are struggling to feed their pets and are in dire need of assistance. The organization has launched an urgent COVID-19 pet food appeal to Cape Town-based manufacturers to donate their surplus edible pet food, which will then be distributed where it is needed most. You can get involved by contacting them on 021-785-4482 or email them tears@tears.org.za. A Cape Town-based school feeding organization is putting food on the table for thousands of poor households during the lockdown. The Peninsula School Feeding Association is donating 9,000 food parcels to families in the Greater Cape Town area. You can get involved by contacting 021-447-6020 or email info@psfa.org.za. For those battling with substance abuse, call the numbers on the screen now. Please access assistance from the following community support groups, most of whom are offering online meetings. That's all we have for you today, but if you have something to say, we want to hear from you. Send your comments, news and questions to us via Facebook at Our City CT, on Twitter at Our City CT, or get in touch with us via email on ourcity@capetowntv.org. This is the time that we need to come together as a nation, so if you're not sure about something, send us your questions and we'll try to find the answers for you. You can also call us on 021-448-0448. From me, Vicky McCullum, Octavia and Lovu, and the rest of the Our City team, have a great day. Goodbye.